Good evening and welcome to the April 3rd, 2011 Waterboro Board of Selectmen's meeting. If you'd rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome, everyone. We had an executive session prior to our business meeting, which caused us to be a couple of minutes late. Is there any announcements from any member of the board? Okay, I have a couple. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the M.R.S.A Middle School wrestling team for having an undefeated season this year. I think that's kudos to them. I don't know the status of how they made out in the state tournament, or I'd let you know on that unless somebody else might.
I mean, as far as the basketball?
No, not the basketball.
You're talking wrestling.
Yeah, we're talking the wrestling. Yep. But they did have an undefeated season this year, so congratulations to those folks. On another note, the Waterboro Parks and Recreation sponsors through the AAU an 8th grade basketball team who over the weekend in a tournament qualified for the Nationals down in Florida. This is the first time that in the history of Waterboro, at least as far as I can remember and those that I've spoken with, that this has ever happened. So certainly congratulations to those boys and their coaches. It's Chris Burnett, Trey Burnett, and Corey Smith coach the team. They're in the process right now of initiating a number of fundraisers because they figure roughly it'll cost about $1,500 per player to go down to Florida and participate in that, and there are 12 players plus the coaches. So they're going to be having a series of fundraisers. You may see them with car washes and bottle drives and that type of thing. So, certainly feel free to donate something. Also in June, they're tentatively planning a golf tournament at Province Lake Golf Course. So for those that play that, then certainly you can have a little enjoyment as well as donating to a good cause. If you don't care to participate in any of the drives and the golf or anything like that, and you'd still like to donate, you can call 247-6211. That's 247-6211. Ask for Chris Burnett, the head coach, and he can take care of it from there. And if there are no further announcements, do we have any appointments tonight? I don't see any at all on the agenda. Therefore, we'll move into a hearing of delegation. Is there anyone present who has any business they'd like to bring before the Board of Selectmen this evening? Yes, sir. Yes, if you'd come up, please, and identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sean Gerard. I own CIA Salvage in Limerick. I am also a property owner here in Waterboro. I was supposed to be here with Scott from Lake Arrowhead Association and talk about the possibility of maybe getting something going for some fire hydrants in the Lake Arrowhead community. I know that as a taxpayer in Waterboro, we pay taxes into the system. I know there's not always a lot of money in the system to do that, but I think that in the systems that we have in place where there is water lines and that to put in stuff, to put in hydrants and stuff like that, that we should really consider that. A month ago, I lost a very good friend of mine to a fire at 23 Paradise Lane in Waterboro. And it took a great deal of effort. I mean, Waterboro came out, I was burned in the fire. More could have been done. Whether, my friend would have survived or not, we don't know. But I think that Arrowhead is not a small community. It's got 13 to 1,500 houses in there, and I think that any place in town that there's any, whether it's dry wells or hydrants, it could make a difference. And I just think that we should maybe get together, Scott is here, he can go over some of it, that it would make a difference if we saved one person, if we had extra hydrants. And I mean, and I say that not just for Arrowhead, I think for anywhere in town. It's something, and I know that the budgets are tight in that, but I think it's something that needs to be looked at throughout the town, in every town, and find out if there's anything we can do to make it more responsive for the fire department and for them to get water and all of that stuff.
Just so you know where we're coming from, we did have a discussion on that when it came up. The problem that we have is not in the reasonableness of the request, because we certainly agree with you in the public safety aspect of that.
Yeah.
The issue that we dealt with was the timeliness of the submission, because we had been engaged in some very long deliberations over the budget, many, many nights, and Saturdays in the morning, we had marathon sessions and so forth, and we'd finally hammered out a budget that we're in the process of giving to the finance committee. We're just making up the booklets right now. And we felt that that was one issue. The second issue is that there was a number of unanswered questions. When you simply made the proposal, we didn't really know, who was going to do the installation, what it was going to cost, what was the maintenance of that after the fact, whether or not there was going to be rental fees charged to the fire department for the use of the hydrants. Those were questions that we didn't have an answer to. We felt that we needed more time to be able to evaluate and get answers on those questions, and maybe it would be something that could be presented possibly at the November special town meeting or at next year's town meeting.
Yeah, well, Scott's here, he is director of everything for Lake Arrowhead, and I'm sure he can answer a lot of those questions.
Yeah, because water districts are kind of a little bit of a different animal. I know that the Waterboro Water District, we have to pay under the main PUC hydrant rental fees, whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
The simple fact that, the water, we have a water district here, and they have hydrants, we're forced to pay.
Who sets the fee does the district set it, or does the town of Waterboro own the water district?
No, they're a separate entity. They're
Separate
called
entity.
Waterboro Water District, but that's
But it's a separate thing,
it's
like that if it's
totally
Saco or
separate. They have their own
I think it would-
corporation, and they're regulated by the PUC.
I think that things, in my opinion, I would like to see maybe Arrowhead, do a little bit more on their end as far as fees and that. Because it's really helping the community. It's not like, instead of having to pay, maybe we can work out something, where everybody comes together on this. But I'll let Scott take over. He's from the Lake Arrowhead, and he probably answer some of those questions that I didn't know. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
I don't mind Scott speaking for a short time here, but I don't think this is the right forum to hear a long, lengthy explanation when we can't act on it for the near future. That's my feeling.
Well, I think during hearing and delegation, I allow any citizen of the community the opportunity to speak, but know that we're not going to be able to make a decision tonight.
Okay, well, I'd
Okay.
like to answer some of your questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Like the first thing, particularly regarding the PUC, Lake Arrowhead community is not regulated by the PUC, and we are not a water district like Waterboro Water District. We're a private homeowners association, and we operate a public water system,
But the public water system is controlled,
not by the PUC.
understand that. The PUC doesn't control any water district. PUC has to validate the rates of that water district. Okay, if you're selling water, water district, Littleton, Saco, Waterboro, whatever. But you have you are an official public drinking water system, correct?
Correct, we are.
And you have regulations, state regulations that you have to meet for that water district.
For the water quality.
Right.
Okay, but we're not a water district.
Understand.
And we're not selling water to our members. It's part of the fee, okay, for all the amenities. So we would not charge a rental for the hydrant. We would not charge any fee for when the fire department came and used it for any reason. we're not set up like a water district. We really are a different entity. So the PUC would not be telling us that we had to sell the water. We would not be charging a rental for the hydrants, like downtown.
Yeah,
it
just
really is
so,
different.
I guess to clarify, the PUC telling us anything, it really, PUC doesn't tell municipalities. There is a law that says if a public drinking water system has sufficient water, which I would question whether Lake Arrowhead has sufficient water to provide fire hydrants, all right? We put a 300,000 gallon standpipe in South Waterboro to ensure that we could provide adequate fire protection, right? Part of that part of the requirements and rules and regulations within the PUC is that the municipality, if they're gonna use that for fire protection, has to pay 1/3 of the operating cost of the system, which in our case here is $42,000 a year to rent how many fire hydrants, okay? So the first step, I would think that we would have to know is the current system in Lake Arrowhead sufficient to provide fire protection?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we
At
could,
those locations that I told you about.
okay, so we could say, you know, demonstrated flows, sustained flows for X amount of hours, or whatever the case may be. Because I know when we put in the first 20 houses and the first X amount of footage of a water line, the requirement was for 200 some odd thousand gallons of head, all right? So there's a $300,000 gallon tank in South Waterboro, and there's a $40,000 tank under the pumping station or somewhere in that neighborhood. So I guess that's got to be one of the first things that we would have to cipher out is the system capable of meeting those requirements, all right? And I'm not disputing whether it is or not. If you say it is, it's good, right?
We have a 400,000 gallon.
Right. So I think we'd have to look at that as number one. And then I guess the next question is that do we get into an installation charge or an agreement of how do we install it? Do we jointly install them? Do we jointly maintain them? Does Lake Arrowhead public drinking water system maintain the hydrants and rent them to the municipality for fire protection? I think there's a whole host of things that can be intertwined here to figure out how and what is the best course of action.
Right. Well, our proposal was this, that the town buy the materials, and we would do all the coordination and all the installation. The only installation, or the only outside labor that we were requesting was the specialty labor from E.J. Prescott to actually live tap the mains, because we don't have the capability of doing that. So they would have to do that, but we would do all the excavation, all the labor, and all the coordination. So the town would only have to buy the materials. And then from that point on, we would always maintain the hydrant, like we're currently doing with all the hydrants that we've installed in the last few years.
Now, how many hydrants do you think, Scott, would be needed or wanted or whatever? Where do we start? What number?
Well, we were requesting 4, and that would be a spread all the way along New Dam Road from where our main along New Dam Road terminates right after, if you're coming in New Dam Road from Chadbourne Ridge, right after you go by Greenfield Road, that's where it turns and goes through the woods. So that would be the first hydrant. The second hydrant would be at the intersection of Victoria, the third hydrant being at the intersection of Lakeview, and then the last one at Beaver Dam Road. So that would be a good spread all the way along there, so that the fire department, if they had to fight a fire in that whole area, they would have a choice of hydrants in multiple locations.
Yeah, I see this being put down in writing, and is a full proposal, and that we have the time to go through it, ask some more questions possibly, and maybe put it into the November special town meeting. I don't think, and now our budget is basically done. When this came in, we were finished with the budget, so that kind of caught us a little bit So, but I think what you've said here to me makes sense, and we're certainly not against it. And I think when it answers all those questions in writing, and you're able to get up before a special town meeting, or if it's a referendum article, we have a nice, neatly written thing. This is the cost to citizens of Waterboro, that it won't be an ongoing cost after that, and it's a one-time deal. Then I think it will, you stand a lot better chance in selling it to the people.
Okay, well, we can certainly do that. And that basically, that summed up what we want to do. It is a one-time deal. We get together, we put these in, then the asset is there for the fire department to use when they need it, and it's there for us, for our members as well. And it gives us a much greater fire protection
So
in that whole
the
area.
total cost that you've got in, the letters from the president of the, but the total cost is really the EJP quote for the material and the.
Right? Exactly. That's the total cost. We would absorb all the other costs and the ongoing maintenance, and we would never charge a rental fee because it's there for our members. It's not there to make money or anything like that. It is there strictly for the benefit of our members.
Sounds
I
good.
think there's some easement there.
Was there any discussion with the fire chief about the location of the hydrants, or is this just something that Lake Arrowhead community has determined would be the best layout?
I did not specifically discuss locations other than along New Dam Road with the fire chief. I did, the fire chief did like the idea of fire hydrants along New Dam Road.
I mean, I
Conversation I had with him.
think if we're going to further this discussion, I think we need to make sure that the fire chief is here as part of that discussion.
So Scott, those are the optimum locations from an operational perspective, basically,
Yeah,
right?
to me, it looked like a good spread. It's locations where we can tap the mains, put them in. It'd be easy access for the fire department, and, those roads, those intersections go left and right of New Dam Road, so they could easily get down those roads once they filled up. I really think the best idea would be to get together with the fire chief and hammer out the exact
Just make sure
locations,
that-
make sure he likes them, sure.
That the investment is put in the right place. You don't want to put a
Absolutely. We don't
hydrant in
wanna-
and then find out that, oh, it's not going to work there.
We don't want to do that. We want the fire hydrants in the right place and, let the fire department decide where they would want them. My proposal was what I thought was the best
Yeah.
location.
And it may be, but I would at least want some input from the fire department.
So the best thing is to come back when? What date should we come back with a
I feel the
rewritten
timing,
proposal?
unfortunately, the timing was not right here for us this June, okay? But I think this needs to be done as soon as possible, because people have a tendency to forget what has happened. And make sure we have everything in order for November.
Should we start with the fire chief and discuss it with him, and then you can put a proposal together for the town?
Yeah, I think if you get back here, as David said, as soon as possible on this, get it while it's fresh in our mind too.
Okay.
Get back to us on it, and then we can make a decision as to whether we put it into the February special town meeting, or whether it goes into June. That we could get that in the next month. We can make a decision on it.
Yeah, the budget's already finalized, or
The June one.
our work is done for June. It would be something that would be contemplated at the November referendum that is when you would plan on
Well, that's fair enough. If you've done your budget planning, and
it. Yeah.
we're a little late to this, and we'll just
Could I suggest
finalize it and get back to you.
that we, after town meeting, address this, so that we know financially, coming out of town meeting, where we are, if we're gonna have to make any changes, so we'll know what our financial situation is, and then we can look at addressing this, and how do we need to handle it. And I think the other thing we should be exploring are there any grants available that could help us? Maybe if there's some grants out there, maybe we can get some extra bang for our buck. Now, if we're willing to do, say, the 18,000, and there's some grants out there that maybe would let us put in 6 hydrants instead of 4, or reduce the overall cost, so maybe it's more palatable for those residents who don't live in Lake Arrowhead and are gonna see this as maybe not necessarily a benefit to them. So I think, there's certainly gonna have to be some sale after, make our determination on what we're gonna move forward with, and then do it so that you have time to educate the citizens of the community on what it is that you want to do and sell yourself, sell your product.
Right, and part of that sales pitch is that it isn't strictly for Lake Arrowhead members. Because of that location, the fire department would be invited to use those hydrants if they were fighting a fire on Weber Road or Chadbourne Ridge. It's very close to those locations, so it's not just Lake Arrowhead. It would definitely benefit us all. I think it's a win-win situation for everybody, for the town and Lake Arrowhead, if we do this.
Just so that you're clear in the message that we have, is that we're not opposed to the idea of, maybe funding this, or opposed to the idea of the hydrants. It's simply the unanswered questions that we have that we've really felt needed to be, as John said, put down on paper so that we know what those answers are. And because there may be other issues that come up, I can think of a couple on New Dam Road, the easements that might be needed for those hydrants. What happens if one of our plow contractors hits one of them? Who's going to fix it? I mean, just, kind of a lot of these little legal issues that, pop up. And so I think the best bet is to, get together with the fire department and, the folks up there from your water entity, however you want to define it.
We have some legal issues that would have to be resolved.
Yeah. And then we can make a list of those legal questions and forward it to our, attorney for clarification and so forth, and iron this out, because the ultimate end that we both want to see is enhanced public safety in that area.
Right.
And
Is there any thought that this would help reduce insurance, homeowners insurance?
It will. If you have a house within 1,000 feet of a hydrant, it will reduce it. I think by about
So that's
$50
that's
a
another
year.
nice benefit for people.
Sure. Yeah. I think the big benefit is really having water access for the fire department when there's a bad fire going on.
If you could take away, in David's letter to us, there was mentioned, which probably you wrote, I'm not sure, but there was mention that the Waterboro Fire Department donated material for a couple of dry hydrants 10 years or so ago.
About 10 years ago, yeah.
One of them, I think, he refers to as being vandalized. Can we get a little more information? Are they usable? Aren't they usable? What do we need to do to restore the condition of the two dry hydrants that were, I think you guys installed, somebody like our...
We installed them, Public Works installed them 10 years ago.
So if I read this letter, one has kind of been dubbed seasonable and the other one has been vandalized. So do we now only have one
Vandalized.
workable, or is there...
Well, it's vandalized to the point of being gone.
Oh, okay.
That bad. I'm sure.
It wasn't made of copper or anything, was it?
No, it was plastic. I don't know whatever happened to it. Somebody broke it off somehow.
I'd just like to, if we had two locations that had dry hydrants, we ought to work together to at least, out of existing operational budgets, put them back, right, or get them back operational.
Well, I'll get together with the fire chief, and because I'm really not qualified to evaluate those dry hydrants, let him make that determination. Whether he told me that some are seasonal, which makes sense based on the location. So let him make that determination and see what he wants to do as far as repairing the one that's gone, and also let him decide where he thinks the hydrants on New Dam would be best located. So I will be back to you with that information.
thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
Thanks for your
Sir,
time.
you had a comment?
Would it be possible to get a letter from you guys, from the board, what you're looking for, so that Scott can take it to the Arrowhead board and say, look, these are the issues that the selectmen have? Instead of Scott going in and saying, look, this is what we want to do, he's still gotta check with everything with Arrowhead, but if we knew the questions you wanted about, you guys run into it with a snowplow, who's gonna be responsible, who's gonna fix it? If we had a list of that stuff, then we could bring it to the Arrowhead board, and then we'll move that much further ahead,
Yeah.
versus,
I don't know that we could do that right now. I think that was, when I had just spoken with Scott, that was something that we could probably derive when we sit down and have a meeting with the Lake
Okay.
Arrowhead constituency and our fire department and the board, when we have all our collective brains together, I guess.
Okay.
And then we can, sort of iron this out, so that we have all the on both sides answered up front.
Well, I mean, a question I would have just to start off with, I don't know if Christine, in a note-taking, has taken down some of the questions that were asked, but, if they're there, then, give you a kind of
an idea of what you guys are gonna be looking for, as well
Overview.
as what we gotta supply you with.
Well, I think we'll iron that out during the meeting.
Okay, I'll wait for that, thank you.
And you certainly, that would be a public meeting, so you'd certainly be welcome to, come and participate in that. And if you have, some thoughts of your own on things that need answers, then, certainly we need to bring it forward. And anybody else out there, it would be, like I say, a public meeting.
So if we're talking meeting, let's set one.
Okay, we're gonna do it after town meeting.
I would propose a workshop after town meeting, getting the Lake Arrowhead board with us, the fire department.
Okay, so. July 10th?
It's probably as good as any date right now, Gordon.
July 10th, a workable date for you folks?
Yeah, that'll work. I'll have the water committee here in the workshop.
Okay, we'll set that for workshop on July 10th at, we want to do that as part of the regular meeting or have it, okay, we'll do it as part of the regular meeting, so 6 o'clock.
you're going to have it at 6 rather than before the,
Yeah, we'll have it as, we'll just make that a workshop meeting. Yeah, thank you for coming. Is there anyone else present that has any business they'd like to bring before the board? Yes, sir.
I'm on the cable TV committee, and I was asked to come.
Yes, you're on the agenda for reports just a little bit later. This is an open thing where, any citizen can come in and broach anything with the board. Thank you. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have some correspondence that we received this week. One was a routine notice from Time Warner Cable, reference programmers and broadcaster agreements. There is a letter regarding an issue involving a dog complaint on the Ossipee Hill Road. And we have the Treasurer's Weekly Financial Reports. Anyone that's interested in any of that material can find it on the town's website, or they can contact the administrative assistant to the town administrator or the town administrator's office. And we'll see that material is provided for you. Selectmen's report. Is there any selectman that has anything to report this week? Other than what a great time they had on their vacation from the left side of the table here. Or for you viewers at home, the right side of the table.
see it, we're all kind of one over on this side of the table, and they're all tanned on the left side.
We're pale and sickly and. Okay,
We get to get away from all those coughs that were going on.
so I guess we don't have anything to report, and we'll move on to the town administrator.
Okay, well, today the revenue projections for revenue sharing was released, and probably gonna have to cross our fingers we even get it, but it's released at $432,897 and some change for year 13. We have a new thermostat installed. It's controlled on my computer and on my iPhone. so I can control it at any time.
So when we're cold on Monday nights now during 12-town meeting, I can call Nancy?
Yeah, and I can make it colder. That's what I told him out there. I went out, he said, either you work hard or you get cold or hot, whatever. Our Open for Business Certification Program application has been delivered by Representative Libby to Augusta. The deadline is this Friday. He picked it up last Friday and was delivering it this week. And the purchase order review policy that David had asked about last week. I gave you, in your packet is a copy of the original document, which is 11 pages, and the current adopted document, which is 2 pages. The questions, a couple of the questions that was asked about the Mass Camp Road and the old Alfred Road project. I went back until early 2010, and I didn't photocopy everything that's in the Selectmen's minutes, but I did put tabs in the minute book so you can go in and look at them, but the road commissioner came before the Selectmen several times on the old Alfred Road project. The road review committee reported at the October 12th, 2010 meeting that all the materials and catch basins are in. Brush has been cleared out and waiting for the permit. And at the November 9th, 2010 meeting, the road commissioner reported that the old Alfred Road project would start on Monday. And at June 21st, 2011, the Board of Selectmen meeting, the board voted to give the road commissioner authorization to do the job on the Mass Camp Road. The difference in the 2 policies: the new policy, $0 to $2,500, allows the department head to approve the purchase orders. The revoked policy was $1,000 to $500,000. The town administrator approved or designee, and if not included in the budget, the Board of Selectmen approved. For purchases to $2,500 to $7,500, new policy, verbal quote, minimum of 3 qualified bidders if applicable. Quotes must be documented and attached to the purchase order. And town administrator can approve, but it requires 3 quotes. The revolt policy was $500,000 plus, requires competitive bidding under $2,500, informal bidding, and it did not specify how many quotes had to be. And the difference in the bidding is competitive bidding means the process of obtaining the bid most advantageous to the town for any purchases, whether through formal or informal bidding procedures, and informal is a written or oral quotation obtained from an approved vendor but not required to be open publicly at a set day, time, or place, whereas a formal bidding is a written quotation obtained in a sealed bid through a approved vendor or through an advertisement and is open at a specific day, place, and time. In the new policy, $7,500 to $25,000 written proposals or bids from a minimum of 3 qualified bidders. The revolt policy was the same as the $5,000 plus, requires competitive bidding. And the new one, over $25,000 written bid specs shall be advertised in sealed bids. Under the old policy, it was advertised unless exempted by the Board of Selectmen. And this year, on the new policy, as of May 1st, requires all purchase orders to be approved by the town administrator, and purchases shall be for operational expenses only. Emergency purchases shall be considered upon written documentation of the department head, and then the old policy that wasn't specified. So both of these projects were started under the old policy, and I believe they're both completed before the new policy. I believe there was. I think Mass Camp Road was the last one to be finished, and I think that was finished in
This last fall.
yeah, this last fall, so that was the difference.
Okay, I guess, what's the definition of purchase? I mean, what is this, materials, labor, tar, gravel? I mean, what pertains requirement for a bid. And you could read this and you would not entertain any construction work or anything.
That's right, it's never, if you wanted to do it that way, you would have to bid out the whole project.
If we could postpone any discussion on this, because we do have that as an agenda item, and this is merely a reporting thing at this point. You have other
No,
things?
that's it.
All set with that?
I have a question.
Yes.
Something was mentioned a week or two ago about the exchange of the furnace in the old building for the furnace in the fire department or somewhere. Has that been done? Or
No, it has not been done.
has the quotes been?
I just received one today, and I'm waiting for the other one to come in.
Okay.
And what is gonna happen, all of that downstairs is all the old pumps and everything's gonna be removed. As soon as I get the second one, I will submit them.
Any further questions for the town administrator? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. The report from the Saco River Community TV.
Zoom in on yourself, David.
I'm zooming. Make sure I got my volume up too here.
Oh, can we put on the cameras now?
What's that?
Nothing?
Going to give you some updates that were passed. Dave Lowe, Saco River TV, Board of Directors, representing Waterboro. I've got a few updates that were provided by Patrick Bonslin, the station manager there. Saco River TV recently overhauled their computer system, which had been running nonstop for 10 years. So they've got things, I may have reported on this before, but they've completed that in full, and everything's running very well. It's a much smoother operation. Systems are not crashing up there anymore. So we're also running a TelView server system, which allows us to store everything in the cloud as opposed to our previous remote access system, which was sketchy at best. They are now also, this is kind of cool, able to offer some limited online streaming. So with some advance notice, like knowing that our town meeting coming up in June, we can kind of arrange to have that possibly streamed. That I've got some details to work out, because first of all, we need to be connected to the TV station in the first place. If we're able to get connected to the TV station, then we can go ahead and stream from there over the internet. So it'll broaden the base. That may not be a good candidate depending where it's taking place. I guess if we're back at M.R.S.A Middle School, then that may be irrelevant in this case. But there are some instances, perhaps for future special town meetings, where they're held here or at the school or any place with TV access where we could utilize that. Speaking of the school, after a 3-year hiatus, our RSU 57 meetings are now being archived and broadcast on Education Access Channel 16. So those are back. Dick's going to speak to the franchise agreement, I'm sure, which sounds like there was a hot contest up there. Some programs that are running right now that have been recently taped by volunteers are a program on the Taylor Fry Home for Waterboro Historical Society. Waterboro acupuncturist Jessica Peck is developing a program focused on local businesses. Steve Eveld of Ravenhill Orchard is now producing a local cooking show, which is taped on location here in Waterboro, of course. As always, if anyone has an interest in learning about the TV production process or has an interest in developing their own show, stop in at Saco River TV out on Plains Road in Hollis. That's a straight up townhouse road. Just keep going until you see a big open field and a little building that says Saco River Community Television out front. And we'll look forward to seeing your show out soon.
Has Dave signed up for a Zumba class up there, broadcasting that yet?
Haven't quite perfected it yet.
Perfected.
You're working on it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dave. And now, if we could hear from our representative from the Cable Television Committee. Now you're up, sir. After waiting so patiently back there.
Not too bad. We're still operating on the old franchise, which goes back to, I think, to 1998 or sometime like that, 10-year franchise, and with extensions. The situation is that they proposed a new franchise. We didn't agree with it, so we had a meeting back in January, the committee, and made about 5 or 6 changes, mostly backed up by federal law, so that we have the law on our side, and submitted it back to Time Warner, who have not done nothing. It's status quo. So we're operating on the old system and waiting for them. Dealing with a new person at Time Warner called Trish McCausland. She's a lawyer from New York City and very knowledgeable. The problem we have with her is that she represents a number of different areas, and so she's not easily approachable, and she takes a long time to answer our request. So she covers too much. So we are waiting for her to do something. That's the situation. In the meantime, we're operating as we are. The chairman of our committee, Tony Vigil, is currently going to visit all the towns, plans to, and the 2 school districts to talk about improving or changing and altering the equipment, for future work. Because part of the thing with the new franchises, the Time Warner should help us pay for some of that equipment. That's where that stands. And you know about the upgrade that you just talked about it of the TV station, and I think that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Any member of the board have any questions?
Doing a heck of a job, Rick.
It's not too hard.
Thank you, sir. That concludes the reports for this evening. We'll move on to new business. First item on the agenda is to discuss and vote on a property tax abatement for tax map 13, lot 75A. What is the pleasure of the board on that?
Mr. Chairman, before we get involved in this discussion, I would just like to disclose that I'm a property abutter to Northeast Sand and Gravel. My home is located in what was going to be part of the subdivision. The subdivision has since expired. I don't feel that I have a conflict of interest with this, but I at least wanted to bring it forward.
Thank you. I would also like to indicate that I don't believe I have a conflict, but I noticed in going through the documents that my wife was the notary on several of the documents for Northeast, so I just want to disclose that at this time. Well, I have no financial interest in Northeast, or I don't even know anybody there, so. Okay with that?
Jerry,
Jerry?
got a whole list of questions.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have before you quite a bit of material on this abatement. The abatement also is coming along with a map that I have over here. Excuse me a second. Put it up.
Watch out, Jerry.
Careful, Jerry.
There you go. I don't know, can you see it?
No, bring it
No,
on.
bring it over here. Better.
I'm not going to explain the map. I'm hoping that Mr. Marin Cliff is. tell us what the colors are. But, hang on a second. Let me do my spiel within. So you do have the abatement request before you as part of the package. It has a W in the corner, and that's the material that came in representing the town's information. Indication is that there's probably about 5 acres of working gravel pit on this site. Mr. Moran will be able to explain that a little further. The active pits that we've compared in town run from 7 acres, 5 acres, 4 acres. They're not consistent. What is consistent, though, is the $25,000 per acre. And the rest of the land in these pits are assessed as open space land, and there is no secondary active pit value in any of them. Coming back to Northeastern, their pit currently being assessed with 2 categories, which equals 23 acres of gravel pit. There are 2 lines. If you look at the page, that should be the very second one, is the valuation report. You can see the circled items on the left. We have a 10-acre gravel pit with 25,000 per acre. And there's another category, 13 acres with 25,000 per acre. And the total acreage on the parcel is around 136. The problem appears to be the second entry. It goes back to, I believe, the revaluation. And before that, there is an older file in here I think I threw in. It's called Old File. And that might have been, that was Northern Data Systems. And you can see on that we were talking of a parcel, I'm talking about Northeastern, 136-acre parcel. And the gravel pit on this one would be the one that's shown as being 24. And so for a long time, we have considered the parcel gravel pit to be around 24 acres. I think it probably surfaced probably a little more when we had the revaluation, because the numbers become a little more real, a little closer to the market. There's other material in here. I think it's the DEP file, again with a W on the top, indicating that the total area to be excavated was 108 acres. I think you'll see in some other places, I think some of the material that Northeastern has brought in with an NE on it indicate that we're talking about a smaller pit that's active. I think with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Moran for Northeastern, and I'll be back to answer some questions. If you will, sir. Mr. Moran.
Moran, Northeastern. I guess my problem's always been, I've been in to see Mr. Was it Caldwell that was here before, maybe?
It's a long time ago.
2 or 3 times. Because it's always been, when I purchased it from Steve, it was originally 225 acres. I purchased 130 or something, which 108 acres of it is gravel. And my taxes just, it was just skyrocketed. So, and I realize it's a totally approved gravel pit. It's in 4 phases. We've been in phase 1 for 22 years. And that's 25 acres. So.
And what color is that? I can't see
The yellow one.
Yellow, okay.
So I don't know how we could have 23 acres of active gravel pit all the time.
So phase 1 is your active pit,
Right.
and 2 is what?
2 will be the next phase we go into once we finish up phase 1.
Okay, then 3, then
We got
4.
about 5 acres left in phase 1.
Okay.
So I guess help me out. What do you consider active gravel pit?
The area we're working.
Okay,
Because otherwise than that, it's either fields or woods.
okay. So when we look at section 1 there's excavation going on, you're doing crushing or whatever the case may be, right?
We have
You also have storage,
Right.
right? So that footprint of the operations of a gravel pit, all right, is what you would consider working, the working pit.
I actually myself, like, these, not mentioning any names, but other gravel pits in town, like he just said, 5 and 7 acres they're paying for.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a staging area, like you say, and I'm working probably, got 5 acres more to work, but I still gonna have that staging area. I'm always gonna have that staging area at that same point. So, you know, to be fair, I'd like to see it be 7 acres like everybody else, or like the highest one, but I'd agree with 10.
Can I, and again, and I'm just trying to get some
It's
clarification
13
on
is
this
driving
too.
me crazy.
That the active pit in the yellow area, that is imminently going to be dug, or do you just look at it where the ground is actually broken? And is that whole yellow area broken and opened up and working it, or is only part of that opened up with your plan within the next year or two to
Well,
finish the yellow?
It's all open, the trees are cut,
Okay,
but Steve did that before I bought it, just so somebody could see what they're buying for the
Uh-huh.
first 25 acres. I would never do it that way again. In my next phase, when I go into phase 2, I'll cut probably 5 acres to a time, because the problem what happens, if business is not good, and you're not doing much business, which you can see we're not,
yeah,
we go in and cut all of phase 2 off. The time we get halfway through, we got trees like that again.
yeah.
So we don't want to do that anymore. That's not a good idea, so we got to do it twice, 3 times.
Okay, for my own clarification, Jerry, you said that a gravel pit is valued at $25,000 per acre.
Yes, that's the standard.
So this area is what is being valued at 25,000?
Yes, for approximately 13 acres. Yeah.
Okay. And these other areas are not, what is the classification of these?
Well, we do have the 13 acres in that first acre, but then we also have a category that's got, get to it here.
So it's 113 acres.
A 13 acre. We have another 13 acre category, but we don't know really where it is.
It's within the 25?
I would assume so, but I really don't have a clue.
Okay. And what is that being valued at?
25,000 acres.
Also?
Yes.
And is this here just considered woodland?
It would be considered the real land, woodland type, sure.
Okay. And Clifford, you're saying that you don't feel that there's 13 acres of pit here?
It's already gone.
Gone. I mean, it's been
Gone. We got 5.
excavated.
We got 5.
You got piles of dirt here.
Didn't I give you another man? I got one.
Oh, the little ones? Yeah, I guess I get them.
And out of this 25, Clifford, you've got about 5 acres that you haven't excavated?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
See, my hang up, and it's not just Fluffy, it's every time we get talking about gravel pits and active gravel pits, you know, and everybody, I keep hearing that, well, the DEP will only allow you to work 5 acres active at a time and all of that. If you go to the one down on Route 5 here, right, there is one big hole in the earth. I have a hard time saying there's only 5 acres being worked at, because the whole place is an active gravel pit. They might only be excavating ledge out of a certain piece of it. So how do you make the definition? And that's why I wanted Cliffy's opinion of, is where you're storing stuff, is that active? Because it's certainly not undeveloped land. It's certainly not backland. If you've got a pile of screened material or crushed material that's covering an acre, what do you call that? Well, I guess the other definition, what does DEP call that? Is that when they say you can actively mine 5 acres at a time, and you have to reclaim as you go down the road, we'll say, right? What's the reclamation? Piling up soil there? Storing material, or
Well,
hauling material in?
Would that be the same as a junkyard? If a junkyard's got 2 cars in it, or 100? Or a
Yeah, I
farmer's
mean,
got
I
10
guess
cows or
that's
1,000?
my concern. I understand. If you have, and tried to read this, the problem with the DEP stuff here is you gotta be a lawyer to read it, but if it says you can work 5 acres at a time, 5 active acres, all right? What is the rest of the land that's already been worked, or that you're using for prep or storage area, or access to the pit and all that? What is that considered? It certainly isn't $600 an acre backland, which is what the blues and the red are, because it's an active, you're utilizing that footprint to store product on that you're hopefully going to sell. So somewhere here, and it's not just, I think as we move forward here, we need to get some consistency. And if that means that we go back to the other 4 or 5 that are around here and look at them, then that's what we're going to have to do. But if it's truly, here's a 5-acre lot, and that's all I can excavate, and that's what's worth $25,000 an acre, then so be it. But if I got another 5 acres that's already been stripped, it's already been excavated, but I use that acreage to pile up my different types of soils and grades and all that, what is that land construed as?
Yeah, and the other question too is, maybe it doesn't go back into the $600 until it's been reclaimed. So as long as it's open, then it's active. And it's gonna be really hard for us to go and police that. You can say, we're only doing this 5 acres, but someone's gotta be coming in there and see, are you using it for storage or various, but as long as it's open, one way of looking at it, as long as it's open, it's being, it's an active section. When it's been reclaimed, there's no question there that it's not active anymore.
I mean, I guess I'd ask the
I
question
think
of Cliff is,
DEP recognizes that 5 acres open, that you're actually excavating,
okay,
and they just, I won't say that.
okay, you don't have to.
But I mean.
But I think.
They realize you gotta have a place for
Right,
something.
you have to have some operational area,
Right.
right, that you're not excavating
Right.
from. You gotta have some place to move, you
Which
gotta
will
have some
always be-
place to crush, you gotta have some place to have equipment. But I guess my put is that, okay, if we're gonna say that an active, the hole that you're working in, the 5-acre hole, we'll call it, if that's worth 25 an acre, what's all of the ancillary areas that support the pit operation? What are they worth? It's gotta be more than $600, because $600 is what you're being taxed for where the trees are coming out of the ground.
That's why I wouldn't mind going with the 7 acres or 10 acres, 10 acres even. 5 acres for stockpiles.
And
5
if you
acres for wood.
if you said, okay,
Not
I'm
23.
working 5, I got 2 or 3 that I have for prep areas, and the rest of it I've overseeded and it's gonna grow back in underbrush or field or whatever the case may be, you'd say, they've reclaimed that, so that goes back down to the fact that it's undeveloped land now.
Certainly, we're not the first people that ask this question. So that somewhere out there, that this other places have set precedents on this, and there must be information out there statewide.
Jerry, to your knowledge, has portions of a particular pit been, I guess, reclassified as open space versus active space?
No, when we applied the valuations on these parcels of land, talk about the gravel pits, we use the same dollar value, if you will, for everything outside the gravel pit. Once you get outside that $25,000 area that's active, the rest was valued the same as neighboring parcels that are undeveloped.
Well, certainly there must be several pits, 3 or 4 in town, that have been in operation long enough that some of these must be reclaimed.
And I really don't know the answer to that, because it's something we don't, or I don't police as to whether they've been reclaimed, or, my only concern is making sure that we put a value on the pit that reflects the fact that it is a gravel pit.
Yeah, but I don't see how you can get an honest evaluation if you're not looking at what the hell's going on, Jerry.
Well, we look at historical records,
Uh,
I know, but that's all we have right now, and that's all you have with you, that I give you tonight.
I guess my point is, I've been there for 22 years, in this phase 1, and there's only 25 acres. So, I mean, I can't be doing 23 acres a year,
So you're looking...
because there's only 25 acres to begin with, and I've been there 22 years.
Cliff, you're looking for... You're looking for a reduction from the 25 to 10 or something like that.
I guess I'd be happy to get rid of that 13.
Right. But I think there's 2 things here. Cliffy's issue, but I also think there's issues with other pits and issues with our own system that needs to be addressed, which won't be done tonight, but we have to deal with Cliffy.
Does the town have a pit themselves?
Yep.
I don't know how big that is.
I mean, we have the.
I mean,
pit
no,
at-
you don't
we
pay no
have the pit-
taxes.
We have the pit at the transfer station.
Right.
And I believe our permit allows us to excavate or keep open 5 acres at a time. And I know we've already done some reclamation up there. And I guess that's my question. If I look at the satellite view of the pits that we've got listed in town, right? And I would say, here's a 5-acre block, right, which is really only 500 by 500, thereabouts. You know, there's a heck of a lot of other space that have got nothing on it, but piles of sand and construction equipment and everything else.
See, a lot of this is road, which has got to be road. See how, this is all road right here. This
Yeah.
is out here, and it goes completely down in here, all the way out to here. And this stays, because it comes out while my gate is here. This is actually the right of way that was approved with a permit, but it goes right between 2 houses. So I'm being a good guy, using the house lot to come out there with my access so I don't disturb the neighbors. Not that that's got anything to do with anything, but. So I guess what I'm saying, this roadway, which I've always got to have, is, 50, 75 feet high, all the way down through here. I got, from my finger over this way, on this paper, that's rest to be excavated, and this little corner right in here is left to be excavated, which we measured out, and it comes up to about 5 acres. The rest of it's already done. We've got stockpiles here. Most of the way. And the stockpiles aren't that big, because we can't buy the fuel. We'd love to. So I guess that's my point.
What phase
The
is
23
this?
acres is,
What phase is the 13 acres?
what's that?
There's the 10 acres and then the 13 acres that are assessed.
They, well, what they're assessing me for is, this whole 23 acres is being a working railroad.
And that's all phase 1.
That's the yellow one. And we got 5 acres left in the 25 acres. But we definitely gotta have stockpile area.
So Jerry,
Yeah,
why
but we got
is
trees
this
that
not
big.
23 acres? And why is it broken down to 10 and 13 again? What's the difference between those two?
He said, he didn't think he could tell us that, right? Or-
No, I was going to say, I look at it, it's almost they're almost a mirror image of each other, except for if you look at the one with the 13, there's a word restriction and 90%, so there's a 10% reduction in that line. The only one that I really have faith in is the one that has 10 and 100% as you go across, and usually that 250,000. I think we're kind of weak on the 13 acres because we're not really sure what that entails. And I was hoping tonight we would have some clarification.
Can that 13
active, though. Says
Oh, yeah,
active,
it says
saying-
active, yes.
Can that 13 acres be reclassified as open space for tax purposes, or?
We have, well, that seems to be the problem. We have with all other pits, taken the active portion out like we have here, and then the other category would be usually open space. In one case, it happens to be tree growth. In another case, it might be a woodland, but there's a different category for that second line. It may have been that was a typo, or we weren't sure of the, again, the 25 acres will throw you if they say in a DEP permit that that's what you got to work with. But,
I think how they originally come up with that, because phase 1 is 25 acres.
yeah.
I think that's how they found.
If that 13 acres has already been mined, it's just open,
Right.
then one of the things, as far as I'm concerned, that induces reclamation is taxing at it as at a higher level, as long as it's open and possibly could be used, and then once it's reclaimed, the tax level goes down, and that certainly is an inducement for the owner to reclaim.
Well, I agree with you, John. On the other hand, if you understand the business, you probably need as much area to store stuff as you are digging.
And I don't have, in principle, I don't have a problem with understanding that. It's, he didn't say it, but the DEP certainly knows that you can't have a 5-acre excavation without having ancillary land being consumed, right? My problem is that we have this standard of, it's either 600 an acre or it's 25,000 an acre. And if we're truly gonna say, let's go assess the $25,000 to the acreage that is being excavated or mined, all right? Then the additional ancillary acreage should be assessed at some other number
Other than
until
600.
it is reclaimed.
Right.
Once it's reclaimed, okay, maybe it goes back to wild land, right? We grow wild blueberries, whatever the case may be. But then you can say, all right, it's truly undeveloped land.
You need that in between.
I think we need and it's not just with Cliff, I think it's with everybody.
Yeah.
Is there a legal in-between number, or are we locked into 600 for one and 25,000 for the other?
Well, the Board of Assessors,
Which is us.
Which is us.
which is us, you guys, the figures are only valuations that were developed during the revaluation based on normal parcels. This, of course, is not a normal parcel, it's a commercial, it's industrial. We could develop, if that was the action, and we could develop an in-between number. I don't have a handle on that kind of a number, but we certainly could come up with one. I was going to say create.
Is there, to your knowledge, any other municipality that has an in-between number that maybe rates the property in certain categories?
We could check with our neighbors who have active pits that may have maybe a different approach to it, Joe.
Cliff, you got other pits, right?
Yeah, one in Halls.
One in Halls?
I don't know if I could, I might have to do-
Well, we can't solve that issue tonight, but I do think we need to look at it, okay?
agree.
As mayor, I think we need to address,
And, I've,
Cliffy's.
in the past years, whatever, 16 or 18 years, of course, the economy's been pretty good, so I've paid it and kind of kept still and whatever. But last 4 years, economy hasn't been great, which everybody knows. I've had quite a lot of time to look at this stuff.
that nickel's getting pretty tight.
Yeah, especially in the wintertime, plenty of time.
Well, there used to be 2 nickels to rub together, now one's lonely by
I
itself.
know.
And I think the other thing that this brings up is, it's maybe time to do an inspection on all of the pits in town to make
Yeah.
sure that,
I mean, I'm not here to get anybody else in trouble.
No, but. it's
no, but it brings up
an
an
issue.
issue that,
You might save them some money.
yep.
I'm paying double in trouble with everybody else is.
Yeah, and that bothers me. I think it should be fair across the board.
And you probably don't know what I like me for.
All right, can we make a motion and vote on this, or what's the story?
I guess the question would be, what are we gonna vote on? Oh, to abate something? or-
I guess,
I would, one of the, whether it's Jerry's already got it, a motion could be, I'm not making it yet, and that is for Jerry to research what has been done in other communities regarding gravel pits. Is there a differentiated taxing in other communities?
Another tax formula.
Yeah,
I guess
and he
my
comes back with
thought,
us with that information.
my thought on this right now is, he's not excavating 23 acres out there, but he's being taxed on the
23 acres.
that he's being, so I think that we need to correct that. And if it's that we abate the 13-acre piece of that, we need to make it right for what he's actually doing. I would be comfortable with at least making that motion tonight and removing those 13 acres from the tax assessment. But then beyond that, I think we've got another issue that we need to deal
agree.
with that is inclusive of all gravel pits, not just one in
Should we
particular.
make that
The
motion?
chair would
More than
entertain,
happy to pay my fair share.
the chair would entertain a motion to that effect.
I would make a motion that we abate the account by the 13 acres, which is 292.5.
I would second that.
Okay,
Clarification.
It's been moved and seconded to abate the 13 acres. Is there any discussion? Mr. Gale?
Abating it to the $600? Or are you talking about something in between there?
Well, right now, what's in place in the town's policy is you're either at the 25 or you're at the 6. If we're going to abate those 13 acres that we don't feel he's using as active gravel pit, then at this point, I think you'd have to abate it to the 600. But I think that allows us the opportunity to start looking at this as in its entirety.
To revisit it, John.
and I think that message certainly is clear here with Cliff. If we abate this back, that we're gonna revisit these, which may very well further reduce this 13 down to, or
The
10
10.
down to 6 or 7, depending on what we come up with, but I think you're right. I think there's only, if you look at it from an aerial view, a lot of that stuff has been reclaimed for the sake of reclaiming, right? I mean,
3 or 4 inch trees along it.
right, so I think that, and when you look at the footprint of all of that, of what he's got, and lay it around with some of the other ones, he's no bigger than any of the other footprints. So I think that we need to take that approach. Let's abate the 13, as the motion is, back to the $600, and then I think he certainly understands that we're gonna scrub this a little further to look at what is the additional acreage that is being utilized for the commercial operation, not being excavated out of, but being utilized. What's that worth?
So could we be coming back here in several months and saying, well, we just did that which we abated, we're gonna add it to tax because now we're gonna tax that at, rather than $25,000, we're gonna tax it at $10,000 because it hasn't been reclaimed and now you get another tax bill.
Yeah, but if anything else, it's gonna take, because we're gonna leave him with a 10-acre lot that's operational, right? I don't think he's got 10 acres that would be considered operational. Certainly he doesn't have 23. So we're taking the 13 away tonight with this vote, And I think we direct Jerry to work up a formula here, and we may very well be back at the table for the remaining 10 of what do we do with it.
And the other question I have there too, do we have other pits in town that we're taxing at the, beyond the 5 acre? Do we have other pits that we need to be?
Well, that's-
He's
That's the
provided,
purpose.
Jerry's provided us one that's 7 acres, one that's 6 acres, and one that's 4.
And that's
Okay.
why I'm saying, John, you know what? It's time that we reassess this townwide.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not sure how you can assess somebody for 4 acres if they've got a DEP permit to excavate 5 at a time.
Yeah, no, that's, okay,
Something's broke, we need to fix it.
yeah, yeah, I just don't want, I guess the question is that we fix it and then we come up with a third category and we end up sending out another tax bill and said, oh, guess what, we're just nailing you for another 25,000.
I don't think it would revert back to that. I think it would be on the remaining 10 that he has that would be affected, not what we abated earlier.
Okay.
So would you care to clarify your motion so we know exactly what we're voting on, so that it includes the figure 600 in the wording, so that we have it on record?
No, I think what I made was pretty clear. My motion is to approve the abatement, eliminating 13 acres out of the $25,000 assessment. And then Jerry will come up with the new tax bill. And if it's not being assessed at 25, it can only be assessed at
It can
6,
only
because
be
that's the
assessed.
only policy that we have.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we have the motion on the floor to abate 13 acres from the $25,000 fee. And it's been seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. And Jerry's going to begin looking at other pits in town, and also what other towns are doing in funding formulas for, or taxing formulas for pits and so forth.
Okay.
I'm going to hold off.
Just everybody do yourself a favor and look on Google Maps or something and look at each one of these things. I'm gonna tell you right now that you're irrelevant.
I look at it, and it doesn't tell me anything.
I mean, because you can't tell
Too
what's
high.
working, all right? Other than you can look and you can scan in on Cliffy's and you can see that, there's certainly areas that have been reclaimed.
If we could have them dye the sand, the color.
Well, it's pretty easy to drive into it. And
I agree.
Yeah.
And then that may very well be something that we do is, you visit them and you say, because they absolutely have more than the 5 acres that's being worked.
And Jerry, I would volunteer to go with you this summer, if you want to look at it.
You have a helicopter?
I do.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy,
It's the Zumba too.
well, young,
Just don't stop running.
all right.
Okay, moving on to item 2, discuss and vote on a property tax abatement number 12-30 for tax map 33, lot 3. What is the pleasure of the board?
I would make a motion to approve the abatement as recommended by our assessing agent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the recommendation of the tax assessor regarding tax map 33, lot 3. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3, discuss and vote on a property tax abatement for 12-31 for tax map 4, lot 488. What is the pleasure of the board?
That's 48B. That last digit is
Okay,
B.
there's a typo?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna rephrase that. A tax abatement for tax map 4, lot 48B.
I would make a motion to approve the abatement as recommended by the assessor's agent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the recommendation of the assessing agent regarding tax map 4, lot 48B. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Item 4, discuss the purchase bidding policy. What is the pleasure of the board? And I will defer to Selectman Woodson, who had questions during the administrator's report.
Can I just, because I don't know if this was discussed in the past couple of weeks, what's brought this to the surface? It sounds like there's been some kind of a problem or a complaint or something. What's bringing this forward?
Well, what brought it forward was several residents had spoken to me and asked me what was the bidding process. And I couldn't really answer them, so I wanted to have more information. So if somebody asked me, I can tell them, but in looking this over, I still have some questions on what is considered bidding. I mean, what amount, is it the same amount if I'm buying a computer, or we need a new diesel engine for a fire truck or something, or is this road work, parks and rec,
It's for all departments.
anything?
And I thought the definition in the old one was the entire scope of the project, right? If the entire scope of the project was $25,000, and that pushed it into the next
formal bid.
category, that was a formal bid.
Unless we was using town material.
Okay.
Unless what?
We was using town material.
Okay.
Or
yeah.
equipment, right?
Yeah.
Our equipment, yes.
Yeah.
That's backed up.
So is that, the intent of this would be that same thing, right? We're just really changing the numbers around.
And what was the phrase you used, Dennis?
The entire scope, the scope of the project, right? So that you couldn't say, well, we're gonna do a $100,000 road project, but I'm only gonna do $10,000 of gravel, and I can go get that done, and then I'm gonna do $5,000 of this, and
Piecemeal.
you can't piecemeal it. It has to be the whole
Yeah.
project.
Nancy, tell me, let's say if there's a $10,000 job and you're requiring 3, this is an informal process, but you're requiring 3 solicitations. What if you can only get 2? Does it go into a formal process with the 2, or does it come in here for some sort of?
It would come before the selectmen, but sometimes, excuse me, sometimes you have to be careful because something, you may not have 3 vendors for something that you're going after. It may only be 1, it may only be 2.
Maybe a sole vendor
Yeah.
that provides that particular service or item, or if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I have an understanding of what's going on. So.
It's good to go over this.
Just in response to Selectman Gerard's question, I guess one of the issues that we at least mentioned in the previous meeting was the Mass Camp Road, I think was one, and there wasn't.
Old Alfred Road drainage.
And the drainage on Old Alfred Road, Hemlock and so forth. I guess there was concerns about how that eventually, took place.
It was grandfathered, right? I mean, it was from the old, yeah.
That was, I was wondering, I mean, is there an allegation that we've done something wrong along the way? If so, did we?
No, it's basically a need for information, and understanding.
Clarification.
Yeah.
So is there a motion in order here?
So,
That was just to discuss.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I know, David, you mentioned road projects that's gonna be beginning July 1st. A lot of that, I mean, Doug is back, I guess, from his traveling. A lot of that project cost that we have is for town material and town tractor and town employees. if you want all of that to go out to bid for you want the ditching? Do you want everything?
I'm not asking for anything, all right?
Okay. Well, you mentioned that last week. That's why
Well,
I
I'm
asked.
asking for, how does the process work? And, I mean, what venues do we have as a board of handling these projects? What has to go out to bid according to our purchase, you know? I mean, are we following what we say we're gonna do? That's all I'm asking, you know?
I mean, if there's a $25,000 job, and the town is gonna do 10,000 of it, now it's no longer a $25,000 job, it's a $15,000
I
job,
think
so it
if
comes up.
we have the investment in equipment and material in this town, we should be utilizing that first
Oh, I agree.
before we,
Yeah, there's no sense in going and buying something that we already have, you know?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes, but I looked at one project that we did, and I backed out what was used for the town material, the town tractor, and then was looking at the things that we had to buy for material, and it was like some of them, you could only have one vendor, there may be two vendors. And then when you backed out all of that, I mean, the actual cost was $16,000, which then puts it to, if you can get the, oh man, where it went, yeah, the three bids.
Three quotes.
Three quotes, yeah.
They don't have to have the bids.
No.
Just three quotes.
Written proposals of bids, yeah.
So do we have any further discussion on that item?
I'm all set.
You're all set? Okay. Then we shall move on to discuss and vote to approve a partial payment waiver. What is the pleasure of the board?
so moved as presented by the tax collector, I would presume.
Is that in the trailer park?
55.
Frank Street, yes, it's the one up in, yeah.
I'll
I have a-
second.
Oh, okay, thank you. Now, we've had a motion, and it's been seconded to accept the waiver as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Okay, before I continue on in the regular business agenda, I'd like to recognize the road commissioner who came in, and he wasn't present during the time that we asked for comments or anything, and I was wondering if there's anything that he would care to say at this time, or if he's just listening, or?
No, the meeting before last, something was brought up, and I said I couldn't be here last meeting, and they said that you put it off. I couldn't even remember what it was, but I got back just in time to see you discussing the gravel pit issue, so I said, well, I guess I would make an appearance to see if there was anything the board needed from me. Any questions?
What are you doing Thursday afternoon? Can we get together and hammer out the driveway? Finish that?
I guess. I should be here.
All right.
I'm not planning any excursions.
We did put something out for me.
I think you might be referring to that over limit permit for the DOT project.
That's correct.
But
We did put that in
You ended up
advance.
resolving it on your own, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, well, Nancy had a copy of that we signed before, and it was, yeah.
Yeah, after some discussion, we did vote to approve that. I believe there was 2-1. And then-
Have we got any information back from MDOT after our meeting with them?
Nothing as of yet.
Just you had spoken to me. Are we talking, which one are we talking about? The intersectional thing?
No, the whole,
Oh, no, I
the
haven't
whole
got anything back
walk
on that.
that we did.
No.
No, the guy, what was his name? Dougherty? He said that we could probably, we could expect it be a while because they would have to get everybody down here to take a look at them.
And as far as the intersection thing, after the public hearing, I spoke to Gordon about sending those a request. They have now decided that they're going to have a firm to design a small island to go in the middle to try to keep the traffic separated. And you have that guy's email address, Nancy?
I have it.
Here.
You or Gordon has it?
Yeah, I emailed them and got a response from them too.
Anybody else that wants to email him, would be a good thing to email him.
All right, it's Brian dot
Keezer.
Keyser,
Keezer.
yeah, Keyser, Keezer,
I think so.
at maine.gov.
And they're not gonna change the width of the intersection, but they're going to put an island out, they're gonna cut some bushes and see if that helps the intersection rear end accident problem that they're having down there.
But they're not going to restrict the width of the intersection. Yeah. That's-
And they had to have some feedback on that pretty quickly, so I spoke to the people that were there and asked them to email them. How many have, I don't know. Because they want to get that in this year's budget. They have only a certain amount of money to work with. They haven't got money enough to widen the intersection out, but they want to have an engineering firm design that island in the middle, and then they're going to get back to us with an island design. It's going to be a small island. It'll have a stop sign in it, and so there'll be 2 stop signs, and hopefully this will stop the people from cutting across the intersection and causing people approaching 202 from the old Alfred Road from slamming on their brakes and the car behind them rear-ended them.
Yeah, there'll be some regulatory signs on that island as well to keep, you've seen them, it has the little traffic island with the arrow
Yeah.
that indicates to keep right, and that'll be present as well. So we're gonna eliminate a lot of the cutoff from 202 going onto the old Alfred Road where they sort of
Cut across.
cut across the, one of the lanes that causes people to come up rather short.
And I think most of the time they do that to try and beat the oncoming traffic.
To beat the car coming the other way, yeah.
And let's see if any of you had any issues that you wanted to discuss. And I was watching, I just walked in time just to catch part of the discussion with Jerry and Cliff. And, there's a couple things I've always felt that needed to be done in that area. You charge $25,000 per acre for a working pit, which is discriminatory, because it doesn't matter if you have a pit that has a head of 4 feet, or you've got a pit that's got 400 feet. You could have 4,000 yards per acre, or you could have 150,000 yards per acre, and you don't delineate between the 2 of them, which is very discriminatory for the fellow that's got the short pit, and very advantageous to the guy that's got the very high pit.
Short guys always end up on
Yeah.
the lower.
Well, maybe that's something when we have our meeting that you could sit in on and,
Well, I think-
discuss, because if someone's vertically challenged, I mean, we're certainly gonna wanna look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a whole myriad of, you got a 4-acre lot out here, but you're being assessed $1,500 an acre for 70-some odd other acres, because it's all land that is on the townhouse road, right? And yet we've got other pits that have land on secondary roads that we're saying, oh no, that's undeveloped land, it's $600 an acre. I mean, I don't see a lot of consistency here.
In order to do this, you've got to look at you might even have to go back to your planning board and say, well, on the design, we now want a cross-section, so we know how deep the elevation is, and we'll charge them so much per acre per elevated foot. And on top of that, everybody has a 10-acre working. You can have a 10-acre area that's just stockpile area. That's under the state law. okay?
Okay, so, but we don't differentiate.
I know you don't,
Okay.
you don't. And then, and on top of the 10 acres, you can have an area where your crushers are set up and stuff like that. It's not actually active pit, it's a working area, it's a commercial area, but it's not a working
But
pit.
it's worth more than $600 an acre.
Yeah, but it's not worth
I
$25,000.
agree.
So you got 5 acres, you know, this thing should be a 5-acre pit, it's illegal to have 5 acres, and then you gotta reclaim it. But somebody's gotta go out there periodically, whether it's the code enforcement officer, along with the person that does the assessing, and, I mean, and then you gotta come up with a new scope of work you need, so I just wanted to tell you, it's a little bit more involved than what you think, and a lot less involved than charging everybody $1 gazillion for what they're doing, because some people get away with, you know, I heard Dennis reference, you know, some areas where there seems to be a tremendous amount going on, and other people got very little going on, and they're getting charged the same amount of money, and, you know, we hear that all the time about people, you know, I've got a 24 by 30 house, and the guy next door to me's got a 60 by 90 house, and I'm paying the same tax as he is. Well, we got the same thing going on in the gravel pits.
Yeah, but the gravel pit is a dynamic happening. It's changing all the time. The house is built, and you can go and take a look at it. This is a 3-bedroom house, and this is a 10-bedroom house.
A good discussion
But
there in the work.
the people mining, you know, if you're taxing them on depth, then one person's gonna mine 5 acres and go down bit by bit by bit. Another person mines 2 acres and goes deep, depending on how they're getting taxed. That could be really complicated. And
In the interest of time, John.
It is complicated, I just wanted to tell you.
Yeah, we'll schedule this for a workshop where we can really debate this at length.
Okay.
Under old business, they got discussed traffic and crosswalk signs and signals, so I don't know if you wanna stay for that or not.
Yes, you do, Doug, sit down and relax.
Let's get the ordinance thing squared away here.
Okay, let's move on to discuss and vote to approve a quitclaim deed. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the quitclaim deed as indicated in your selectmen's packet. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Discuss and vote to establish an ordinance to exempt eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax. This is something that the legislature passed that authorized municipalities to look into if they so decide. What is the pleasure of the board?
I guess my only question is, this ordinance that you have presented here, Nancy, ready for endorsement? Has anything else got to be reviewed?
No.
I would move that we accept this and create an ordinance exempting eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax as presented by the town administrator.
for one vehicle?
Whatever this says.
It's the state law.
What's this?
It follows the state law.
I will second it for discussion.
It says vehicle.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance as written. Is there any discussion?
Okay, when they say active duty, are we talking a guy that is simply in the military, or he is in a war zone?
No, I sent gave you
The definition.
the definition too. It's deployed for military service for a period of more than 180 days.
Is that overseas?
No, just at a post,
Station,
station
permanently
or
stationed
base.
at a military or naval post.
And that includes the National Guard and reserves and the armed forces.
Outside of the state.
outside the state, so it could be shipped to New York?
If somebody was in New York, stationed in New York, they would qualify for this.
Right, if they're from the state, if they're a resident of the state of Maine.
And who keeps track of when they're not active?
Oh, they have to bring
You have
in,
to apply for it.
yeah, they have to apply for it, and they have to bring in paperwork from.
Every year.
Every year, yes.
Same with the driver's license, your license remains active until 45 days after discharge.
So if a person has a vehicle, they're married, and this exempts the spouse's vehicle, or just the vehicle that the person isn't using while they're...
I would say if it's
employed?
registered in his name or her name, I mean, it says here, registered. And
Vehicle.
listen, folks, we're talking a couple $100 here,
Yeah,
right?
but
Vehicles owned by a resident of the municipality who is on active duty serving in the United States Armed Forces and who is either permanently stationed at a military or naval post, station, or base outside this state or deployed for military service for a period of more than 180 days and who desires to register that resident's vehicle in this state are hereby exempted from the annual excise tax imposed pursuant to Title 36, Maine Revised Statutes annotated, Section 1482.
okay, so it'll be registered in that person's name.
And the resident must present a certification from the commander.
And we're talking about what? How many people here?
Doesn't matter.
Well, I mean,
But if it's
it
a
has
house
to
that
be a
does-
resident of this municipality. I'm not sure we're gonna have like 500 people all of a sudden
Yeah, I mean,
move out of
it's a
town and go into
handful
the
of
Navy
people.
or
It's a
something.
handful of people,
Yeah.
a few $100.
The only
Okay.
question that I have during discussion is whether or not, because this is an ordinance, we have to have a public
You
hearing
do.
for it.
You do.
So this would be just to move forward with,
Right. So I will qualify my motion that we move forward with the approval process of this ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward with the process for enacting this ordinance. Is there any discussion on this clarification? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Okay. Now, we will move on to old business. First item there is to discuss the traffic crosswalk signs and signals. I think specifically what we were discussing previously was the signal that is currently on Route 5 at the crosswalk generally used by the camping area to access the lake. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
What's the problem?
The problem,
Catch those of us that weren't here up.
the problem, I guess, that has been raised, or the issue that's been raised, is should taxpayer dollars from the municipality fund the lights for a private business enterprise in the community, or should that cost be an associated cost of doing business for that business?
I think safeties are, I think safeties are concerned, whether it's private or public, you know. If there's a lot of people crossing there, whether they're from that campground, 90% of them are from that campground, I think, you know, safety's our issue, and it's a municipal issue.
Well,
Go ahead, Dennis.
here's my issue. We have 8, according to the ordinance, 8 crosswalks in this town, the latest being added in 2004. How many have blinking yellow lights?
I think all 8 of them should.
Well, they either should, all of them should, or all of them shouldn't.
Now,
Not necessarily.
how did you get that definition? Is that from an ordinance that we have?
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Okay, but there is also a statute regarding unmarked crosswalks at the intersection of any,
But our crosswalk ordinance pursuant to Title 30, Section 2151, 1C, establishes crosswalks within the town for the following designated locations. There are 8.
right, and Title 29, the motor vehicle statute,
Yeah.
also defines what unmarked crosswalks are that were not included in that
Right,
statute.
but these are crosswalks that presumably, over time, we have physically marked and maintained as crosswalks, all right? The first ones back in 1985, were on 202 at the South Waterboro Village by the post office, okay? Then there was the Route 5 near the elementary school in East Waterboro.
These are not at
In
intersections.
In 85, it was route number 5 in front of Black Campground, right? And then crosswalks on 202, the West Road and the Goodwin's Mills Road at that intersection, okay?
That must have been when the traffic light went in.
That was in 92, that's when the traffic light went in. In '04, there's evidently 2 were added in May and 2 were added in June. There was Chadburn Ridge Road leading from the Dame across the road to the culvert on, I would guess it's the dam. And in Route 202, South Waterboro Village, near the location of the South Waterboro Bible Chapel. And then in June of '04, Old Alfred Road leading from Oak Street across to Friendship Park. And Route 5 from Sunnyside Cottages across to St. Stephen's Church.
Pretty specially designated crosswalks.
And none of which in this ordinance says anything about maintaining a blinking yellow light.
The light came, the traffic light came after this was added in 85. I'm not sure. You'd have to go
So
back to.
in 85, we established this ordinance. I'll take that back. On March 13th of 1982, the ordinance was established. And in 85, we added the Blackburn's Campground, and then nothing in that article, which was Article 25 of that town meeting, said, hey, let's put up a yellow light.
Yeah, that was done at another time, later on.
Yep, Chair will recognize the road commissioner.
I guess you'll probably discuss this, because I brought it up, that I had an issue with this. There's blinking lights on Route 5 in front of the school, and those are paid for by the school. If we're gonna provide, well, let's back up. These blinking lights up here in the sign originally said duck crossing. And Bob Fay made the motion that we put the lights up and put duck crossing signs up, and it was supposed to be to protect the ducks. Well, maybe we ought to pay for blinking lights to protect the ducks, but if we're gonna protect the ducks up there, we ought to protect the ducks otherwise, because a lot of people in this town that act like ducks. That's pretty blunt.
Wow, your time in Tulsa must have been fun, huh?
It was, good time.
Tulsa, all right, one of my favorite towns.
So anyway.
Do you have a suggestion for extending this to where the turkeys cross, like up by the
Yeah,
mineral store?
turkeys
and
cross
turtles,
and
too.
the snakes cross, and I built snake crossings, and if you want, I can build them some more.
Worm crossings.
Worm crossing.
And actually, we pay for those.
So
down
what
here.
is what's the intent of having this on the agenda?
Well, I brought it up because I thought it was unfair that, that we, of all the businesses that we had, and at the time I brought in the number of businesses that we had located on Route 5 and on 202. We have, you know, the store in North Waterboro, the store here, we have a real estate office. We have a place down here where we have a daycare. And as we go down Route 5, we have the school. We go further down, we have a doctor's office. We have Dunkin' Donuts. We have businesses on both sides of the road at the intersection of 202 and 5. We're going to have a Napa store down there. We go further on, and we've got RSD Graphics. We've got you know, Abbott Power Equipment, we got the post office in East Waterboro. If we're gonna put lights up for seasonal use, then it seems to me we ought to put lights up for year-round uses for other businesses that are in town. And if we're gonna pay for one business, then we ought to pay for all the businesses or none of the businesses. It just appears to me that it's unfair to the taxpayer to, number one, pay for those crosswalks for a private use, not a public use, it's private use, and to pay for those lights. And one of the reasons I brought this up is because they're gonna need some extensive repair, as I reported to the administrator, which we didn't fund in the budget this year, but they need, the electrical boxes need to be upgraded and replaced, they're rotted out. And I just think that it's time that the board took a look at this and said, yes, we feel that we should pay for blinking lights for a private enterprise. Personally, I think it's wrong.
Okay, the question I have is, why is that yellow light there and not other places? Is it because it is so heavily used in the summertime and you're coming off a 50-mile-an-hour stretch of road down to a 35, and people thought it'd be dangerous not having a yellow light? Or how to get there and not other places?
Did you hear about the duck?
It had,
I thought it was a crosswalk, not the flipping light.
no, the lights in the crosswalk went up at the same time.
So in order to move this, I would move that we eliminate the blinking light, the town-supported blinking light at the crosswalk at the campground.
And I would think you would notify the campground.
If it's an ordinance, you're gonna have to have a public hearing.
It's not in the ordinance.
That's true. I take it. You're
The
right.
light
It
is
wa-
not
was
in
a
the
separate, it
ordinance.
was a separate town meeting vote.
Dennis, could I ask you to just, I was gonna say something like, what, I think that should notify, I think I'd like to see a motion say, we're gonna notify the
Give them a chance to
the
come in.
business that on such and such a date, the town is no longer gonna fund the lights, and that we would leave the lights there in their present condition and transfer ownership of those lights to this individual. Because if you leave the lights there and don't turn them on, my phone's gonna ring right off the hook. So is yours.
So, well, I would suggest if my original motion is that we take them down, but and I don't have a problem with, we'll set a date on that original motion by June 1st that they come down. And if you want to send a letter to the campground owner and say, if they want them up, we can transfer ownership to them.
I would suggest the 30 or 31 days in June.
30.
We turn it on and,
30 of June. 30.
Oh,
No, I don't want to turn them back on.
okay.
well, then doesn't it go on Memorial? Memorial shuts off in Labor Day?
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
the only thing I got is from you, and I would
I
think
believe it's
that
Memorial.
you would put a date of
Yeah.
May 15th or something. And
Yeah, I remember it was specific in the ordinance, when it got voted in, I believe, when it was gonna be turned on and turned off.
well, then I would change my motion to that they would be, that the town should either take them down or transfer ownership to the campground no later than the 25th of May.
And then not be turned on by the town, you know?
So you seconded it,
Second.
if they're willing to.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to terminate the town's responsibility for the flashing red lights effective May,
Yellow lights.
yellow lights, what did I say, red lights? I'm sorry, yellow lights effective May 25th. And if I'm not mistaken, the letter goes out to that effect.
Unless the campground wants to transfer ownership to them. They want them up.
And the letter will go out to them, so indicating that. Is there any discussion on that?
Discussion.
Yes.
I think that it's a good point that Doug brings up about crosswalks at other businesses, but I think I'm kind of thinking along the same lines here as John. You don't have the same foot traffic crossing from other businesses as you do over by the lake. I think that it's a safety issue. You have a corner there where people are crossing the road. And yes, it's a private business, but I think we need to be concerned about the safety of the people that are using that. And so I think that the lights are a safety issue, and I would be opposed to them not being functioning.
For a point of discussion, is there an alternative way that we can accomplish the same objective that's not gonna cost us money? Like maybe putting up some appropriate signage back there, that there is a high pedestrian crosswalk as they're approaching, and slow signs, some indication so that.
I think there are signs that say a crosswalk ahead, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe we need to talk to the campground owner too and say, you know, these are here, it does benefit your business and the patrons of your business. There are issues with the lights that need repair, we haven't budgeted for it, we're considering turning off the lights, and maybe the business owner would be willing to pay for the lights to be repaired.
I think it's his issue. If he's concerned about his constituents, then he will take care of the lights. It's not my responsibility as a citizen of Waterboro.
There's no more pedestrian traffic there than there is on Old Alfred Road with Friendship Park.
That's right.
I'm concerned about the kids that go across there. I'm concerned about, especially in the summertime, when you've got people going back and forth, and I think that yellow light alerts the driver coming in, coming from the 50-mile-an-hour road, that there's an issue ahead, and so I'm going to go for the safety part of it.
I think that light creates a false sense of security, that they can automatically step out because the light is flashing. And so I don't really necessarily buy that argument. I certainly understand that there should be some warning indicators that there is a crosswalk there, because, as Tammy mentioned, you do have that curve if you're traveling, southbound on 5. It's a little different coming the other way, because your visibility is not quite as restricted as that curve is, so there should be something there, but I don't think we ought to fund it with taxpayer dollars. I think it should be the business that if they want it there, they should fund it.
You know, there's you know, the basis here probably, I may be prejudiced, but when they claim they own the property on this side of the lake, on this side over here on the lake side of the water, which they do not, when they put all kinds of boat ramps up there and they drag more people in there, and they don't let Waterboro residents use that public land because they claim it's their land, which I believe if you take a tape measure and measure it, you'll find it's the edge of the waters within the state right away, which makes it state land. And here again, you have public money being used to fund private business. We're not plowing private roads in town. We're not maintaining private roads in town. We're putting those people at risk. And this person has a business, and if he wants lights, he has the opportunity to fund them himself. That's all you're asking him to do, is to fund the lights himself.
So the issue of ownership on the land, I think we discussed that early on, like a couple of years ago, and we did get confirmation from Maine Department of Transportation and the deeds which were provided that in fact he does own that property.
Only until it eroded to where it was no longer his property. There used to be, when I was a young fellow, there used to be a lot more land there than there is now. But anyway, that's a separate issue. I just am concerned about the town paying for the lights, because I think if we're gonna pay them there, I think we ought to put up lights in a lot of other places in town.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion of terminating the town's obligation to pay for those lights and revert it back to the camp owner, the campground owner? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried 3-2.
Now, you need me for?
Yep, thank you very much.
You
Take
haven't
long,
put,
get it.
you haven't put on the agenda yet about the road that I asked you about. Are you gonna put that on the agenda, Nancy, or
Yeah, I was waiting for you to come back.
what's that?
We're
Which
waiting
one?
for you to come back.
Conley?
Oh, no, I haven't. No, it was gonna wait for you to come back.
We'll set that for next week's agenda, be the Conley Road.
I was thinking of another one.
Discuss the progress in the hiring of a code enforcement officer. I'll refer to you. You were, I think, tasked with the, conduct some background investigations, I guess, so there's just a very brief update on that, because I know we have an executive session later on that's gonna deal more in depth with it.
Both have been completed, background checks.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the warrants for bills and payroll.
So, second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the warrants for bills and payroll. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Chair will accept a motion to accept the minutes of March 27th, 2012,
So
regular
moved.
meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of the March 27th, 2012 regular meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried 3-0 with 2 members of the board who were not present for that meeting abstaining. Pending decisions, we have the public service announcements, which I guess are still
That's
in the editing
dependent on
stage.
receiving equipment.
Yeah,
I'd
we're waiting
ask
for some
Dave,
equipment to
have
come
we
in.
got it yet? No.
Review of the driveway, review of the driveway opening permit language, and as probably all of you heard, that's scheduled for discussion on Thursday night between Selectman Gerard and the road commissioner. Board and committee status, we continue to have some vacancies, and Christina was kind enough to provide me with a list. We need 1 person for the assessing board of review. We have 2 vacancies on the fair hearing committee, 4 vacancies on the hiring panel, 1 vacancy in the zoning board of appeals, 2 vacancies on the 2020 master planning committee, 2 vacancies on the finance committee, 1 vacancy on the planning board, and that would be as an alternate member, 3 vacancies on the Parks and Recreation Committee, 5 vacancies on the Conservation Commission, 7 vacancies on the Economic Development Committee, and 9 vacancies on the Public Safety Committee. So if you're interested in participating in any of those committees, you can obtain an application here at Town Hall. The Water District Survey, we have a meeting pending on that. That will be discussed at length. The Water District office space lease, it's back in their hands. The Eagle Scout project, we still have no further update on that. We're having some difficulty, I guess, establishing communications with the individual on that. The internet and electronic mail policy revisions are being worked on.
Yeah, now that Tammy Joe's back, maybe we can sit down and really put it together.
The week's actions list. We've jotted down a few things that need to be taken. That letter to the campground owner regarding the lights. Discussion of agenda items. Anybody have any suggestions? I know Courtney Lane is one.
Courtney Lane or Connolly?
Connolly Lane, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're correct, thank you for correcting me.
We have the letter this evening about the dog complaint. I think we need a report from the animal control officer. I mean, under the statute, that fits as a dangerous dog situation, and I think we need to know that it's being addressed.
Okay. For the record, I will be abstaining from all discussions or anything involving that particular complaint. It's a family member.
I think if nothing more, we need to have a report from Wade.
Yep.
I'm not
Did you
sure
get
we
a copy of that?
Yeah, and he was aware of it, I spoke with him about it, so he was following up on it.
So I think the ball's
So at
in his
least
court.
a report from him that there's something that's happening with it.
And it can be a written report as far
Yeah,
as I'm concerned.
yeah, just something, not leaving it.
We need to schedule the quarterly review.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned the 17th for that, did you not?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I don't think we're that far. I mean, we've waved the magic wand and threw the pixie dust on all the problems, so we only have 5 or 6 issues.
We're gonna need to come upon some sort of decision as to what we do regarding the code enforcement officer too, so that probably should be on next week.
No, that's
It's gonna
on
be
the-
discussed tonight.
Oh, are we
We
gonna
have
be
an
back
exec-
in meeting on that?
We have an executive session
Yeah,
after.
but it's, okay, so we can come back into meeting and make it, okay, good, excuse me. Okay.
Anything else?
I'm sure as usual, something will come up.
Okay, reminders. Wednesday, April 4th, 2020 Master Planning Committee will meet at Central Station. Also on April 4th at 7 p.m., the Planning Board will meet at Town Hall. On Monday, April 9th at 6 p.m., the Road Review Committee will meet in the Old Town Hall. Also on Monday, April 9th at 7 p.m., the Parks and Recreation Committee will meet in the Old Town Hall. On Tuesday, April 10th at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting will be held at the Town Hall with a report from the Road Review Committee and the Road Commissioner. On Wednesday, April 11th at 6 p.m., the Road Review Committee will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Thursday, April 12th at 6:30 p.m., the Old Home Days Committee will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Thursday, April 12th at 7 p.m., the Finance Committee will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Saturday, April 14th at 8:30 a.m., the Cribbage Tournament will take place at the Old Town Hall. On Monday, April 16th at 6:30 p.m., the 12-Town Group will meet at the Town Hall. On Monday, April 16th at 7 p.m., the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. And on Tuesday, April 17th at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting will be held at the Town Hall with reports from the Transfer Station Manager, the Transfer Station Recycling Committee, and the Eco-Maine representative. And if there is nothing further,
I just have one thing that, I
Yes.
just checked my email and it had come in. The boat launch, we've had a problem up there with people, there's a big hole from power loading. And we've talked about filling it in, and we've talked about, at one point, putting some small stone in there to preserve, so it won't be dug out as much. So I sent a question to Sebago Technics if we would need a permit, and Owen sent back saying that he would need, he believes that the placement of rock will require a DEP permit by rule and an Army Corps of Engineers Category 1 notification. He says the application to DEP would be $65, and the other fee with everything involved would be about $850.
my memory serves me correctly, didn't the prior road commissioner make contact with the state and advise that we could go ahead and do that? We didn't need any permits?
That was just filling in the hole. This would be
This would
putting
be filling in the
something,
hole with
Let's put it
rock?
on next week's agenda.
Yeah.
How
Yeah, I
about
would
we
have
have
more.
a rock throwing contest like we used to as kids?
Yes,
skip rocks.
skipping.
Yeah.
And they're all gonna end right there in the hole.
I don't,
For basketball, we should put a
Me
net
too.
You
there.
can skip some of this.
to spend $1,000 to do something that needs to be done is asinine.
Yeah.
Well, I also asked him too if we could just go in and fill in the hole right now.
Can't
I
we
mean,
fill in a
rocks,
hole with
you're
rock?
not polluting anything, it's not sand.
Well, it's scheduled for an agenda item next week, so we can do an in-depth discussion and at that time. So right now, we're gonna close the normal business meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We're going to be taking a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back on, which will not be televised or recorded, because we will be in executive session to discuss the code enforcement officer position.
And you will come back out and take a vote?